Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another one of our BBH 15 preseason podcast where we are going over each of our different cast members. What was their game like in their original season, and what is their second chance story coming in to Big Brother Hometowns 15? Today, we have the honor and the privilege to talk about Maunica from BBH season 12, and joining me to talk about her game. Some people say that if he hadn't gone out when he did, he would have gone on to win the game. But it just depends on who you ask. It's Mr. Michael Scotton.
I am the person who, if you ask it, I will say that. I'm pumped. I am I think that's what you're getting at. I'm very excited to see Maunica again. I didn't think she would be playing. I thought she was retired, so it's going to be a blast getting her back into the BBH house.
Yeah, I was just telling you before we jumped on recording, like Maunica is one of those people that was like, if she wants it, she has it. If she wants the spot, she gets the spot. And we didn't know what we were going to get. And the fact that she's ready to come back and she's willing to come back after some, her time away from the org community, I'm excited to see what she's going to bring. You were like her first ally. And that's why I'm glad that you were willing to come on and talk about her, because you guys had such a story in your season, but you saw her game so closely. And I think you're a great person to talk about her. What are like some things about Maunica that drew you to her as an ally, and just, some things about her in general?
Yeah. First off, I do want to say, I am very surprised to see her again. She's one of those people who, you almost feel like she's too cool for orgs. She has so much going on in her life. She works a very serious job. So, we can get to maybe, what I'm worried about later, but I think, the time she needs to put in is going to be tough. Mm-hmm. I guess I'll just kind of start, at kind of the beginning of BBH 12, because it's always very interesting going into the BBH house. Everyone's kind of feeling each other out. And on day 2 or 3, I just started getting a lot of actual offers. Hey, do you want to work together? And it was very explicit. And I think maybe on Survivor, it's more coy. So that's why I was kind of taken aback. And one of those people was Maunica, who said, hey, I think me and you should work together. And I kind of gave everyone a lot of the bullshit, a lot of the. I consider myself pretty good at giving people a lot by actually not getting them anything. And Maunica was the only one to be like, wait, what? So do you want to work with me or not? What does that mean? And I was like, okay, I got to hop on call with her. I'm either going to try to get her out right now or work really closely with her. And I hopped on call. She's super engaging, so funny. And what really drew me in was just how smart she was. Even though it was her first game, she really had a great intuitive understanding about kind of the dynamics of everything that was going on. And so I was like, okay, I really want to work with her. And that was kind of the start.
Yeah, she came into BBH 12 so green. And I remember watching her the first couple of days and being like, she's either going to be everyone's number one or she's going to crash and burn, because she, like you said, she just was like, wait, what's going on here? Are we playing a game, or are you you trying to be real with me? And she, I remember her in the moment, reacting to a lot of those, trying to figure that out, in her prod chat, and trying to figure out what was real and what was a false narrative, and what was, how she could learn to trust people. And watching her discover the game was probably one of my favorite parts about BBH 12, because she knew what was going on, but she was so just lost in it. And then she emerges as this person that people were like, yeah, we got to get her out. We have to get her out. So
yeah, and I think she was she could have been first boot. I don't remember the exact dynamics, but a lot of people were throwing her name around. I liked her. She wasn't someone I would have put up, but I don't think she realized maybe the effort she needed to put in right off the bat. but she adjusted very quickly and quickly kind of found herself like within the center of everything going on. And I thought that was incredibly impressive for your first story.
Yeah, and she, I mean, she's so socially what she does so well in the social department.
Mhm.
And, she was able to work her way into a really good spot. She had, you and Alex were kind of her primary allies, but she also had, she was a part of the boys' room, obviously. And she had great relationships with a lot of the people on the cast. Um, you know, if, you know, when you guys were playing BBH 12, like you wanted to take her as far as possible, correct?
I did, but I also had other allies. I had
Sure.
obviously Alex, who was I'm like I'm never I don't think I've ever been someone to have like a full number one in one of these
Mhm.
games. Probably shouldn't be saying that out loud with people hearing this, but it's true. Like I've never been one to like fully like this is I always kind of have to decide in the moment. And so I had like Rizzo, who I knew before. I had Alex, who was playing a very similar game to me, and then I had Maunica. And so like I would have loved for that to be my final four, but obviously things don't work out. But Monica was definitely someone who was at the very top of my priority list.
Mhm. I think one of the most interesting parts of Monica's game during, you know, her time in BBH 12 is that she had such a roller coaster. She learned the highs and the lows. Like this game is
Yeah.
exhilarating. You get to pull off moves, you get to survive the block, you get to do all the things. And then it's also incredibly hard because someone that you think is going to have your back
Yeah.
doesn't have your back. And I'm referring to obviously when Alex is evicted and she is saved by the boys' room, but she is not saved by you. And
Hmm.
like you guys end up having a series of very emotional phone calls, and she is learning so much as the game is progressing. How do you think that experience like helped her shape her as a game player? Because I think from watching it, I was like, wow, this is so hard to watch, but like Monica's coming out the other side of this like a fierce player.
Yeah, and I mean her game after this, she got second place. So clearly she learned some things. I think she realized because obviously the connection with me and her are genuine, but great social players always make genuine connections, and they still have to stab them in the back. So
Mhm.
I think she takes those genuine connections with a grain of salt now. I think she takes what people say as a grain of salt. I But at the same time, like I think her and CLC were like pretty ride or die in duplicity. So I don't think she's like, oh, I'm never, getting that close or vulnerable with someone going forward. But I think she's aware enough to realize that just because someone says they're not going to vote you out, that doesn't mean they're not going to vote you out.
Mhm.
And I think it really was for the better. It was a tough argument to have. Obviously, like I think most of the onus is on me. I still think I made the right decision because my idea was that okay, if Alex goes, I'm probably going to go next. He was kind of my shield.
And everybody was telling you that they were evicting Monica. So, like,
Yeah,
to your own
yeah,
credit, to like
yeah,
clarify, like everybody was saying, "Hey, we're evicting
right,
Monica."
yeah. So dumb old me. And then of course Alex goes 5-4, and on the way out he's like, "Fuck everybody in this house," blah blah. And I just voted out America's favorite player to save this guy. So I'm like, all right, my game is trashed. But no, I think maybe that's like the only real mistake Monica made there is I think she automatically assumed like she knew me and Alex were very close too. She automatically assumed that I was just gonna have her back. I think all she needed to do was just hop on call with me and say, "Hey, listen, all the girls are voting to save me." And
Yeah.
I think maybe she didn't want to expose the girls' room, but the girls' room had already been exposed. All the girls were just like slowly exposing the girls' room.
Right.
So I think maybe that's what she could have done in hindsight. But I still don't know. Like me and her and Alex, we kind of were in a precarious position where we were sort of playing the middle, and it kind of just like exploded in our faces with all three of us going back to back. So I don't know what we could have done those rounds to ensure all of us made a deep run in that game.
Sure. So let's look towards the future. Like, what do you think she needs to do coming into a second chance to, I mean, obviously we know she's learned, we know
Mm.
she's learned. What does she need to do to ultimately secure the victory?
That's a good question, and she came really close in Duplicity. I mean, everyone was raving about how great CLC played. CLC, I'm guessing he's probably on this cast too, but I she lost 5-4 or 4-3. She almost beat CLC, the god who's won 3 games in a row. So she has it in her to make it to the end and give a great pitch. I think she needs to be very active. This game is going to be even more fast paced than BBH 12 was. So she needs to be there early on, and she needs to be able to give 100%. I don't know how busy her life is. I know she is still working full time. If she can get if she can get on call with people early, I think she'll be in a good spot. And she has a really good reputation in this community. She has,
Mm-hmm.
whereas I think other people who maybe have good reputations but are more high profile, people such as Dan Alt or CLC, I think Maunica is kind of in the perfect spot where people know she's smart, people know she's a good player, but she's not going to be the biggest threat in this cast. So I
Mm-hmm.
think there's going to be a lot of room for her to make a deep run. It really just depends on the work she puts in and the allies she chooses. And I don't want to speculate who's on the cast. I would hope Mitchell Hammond would be on. I would love to see those two work together because I think Mitchell Hammond is like a way better version of me. He's someone who's very genuine, has good relationships with everyone. If she can find a couple really strong allies, such as a Mitchell Hammond, I think she can make a really deep run, and hopefully she can find herself, final six, final five, where there are bigger targets. Even if she's like maybe playing the best game behind the scenes, I think there are certain people like Dan Alt who are just no matter what going to be viewed as a bigger target. So
I
it's
Yeah,
sorry, go.
no, it's one of those things with Monica. I think you're right that if she's active enough early, she's gonna find herself in a great spot. And then the question I keep asking myself is who's coming for Monica? Like, who's coming for Monica early? I think actually
Yeah,
people are going to be falling over themselves to work with her. Um,
yeah,
but I think she's gonna have to manage her threat level because I think people will see her as a threat. And
yeah,
I think when it gets down to that final 8, 7, 6, 5 spot, people are gonna be looking to take that shot at her, and she's gonna have to either figure out how to downplay. She's gonna, she either needs to have a shield in front of her. She's gonna have to
yeah,
win a comp, or she's gonna have to really downplay her threat level. Similarly to maybe how like Crystal did in season 13, where she like goes to the end and no one thinks she has a shot and
yeah.
able to like reveal all this stuff. I don't know if Monica has the luxury of playing under the radar, but
Yeah.
I think she
Well,
could.
I think the radar is going to be larger this season because there are going to be obviously most of the people on this cast are going to be very good players. So I think the level of gameplay is going to be higher. I agree with you. Like I really worry for her in like that final 10, final 9, final 8 stage. That's where Monica's kind of viewed as a threat. But it's tough. Like it's tough to win the game and not be great at comps. And I don't think Monica's amazing at comps.
Hmm.
That's going to be a tough hurdle to get over. So hopefully, if she can find a good ally or two who's very good at comps, and then final four, final five, that's where I think people start to like really worry about like comp beasts, and I think Monica could fly under the radar near the end. So it's weird. It almost like doesn't make
It does click,
logical
yeah.
sense. But
Hmm.
I think Monica's threat level is bigger at final 10 to final 7 than it would be near the end.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Actually, yeah, that weird flip flop that happens in the last like at the sixth spot essentially.
Yeah.
Once you have the ability to win out, you gotta go. Like
Hmm.
and she if she can get to that final six, and she's not got a history of doing well in the comps for the season, then I think I think you're right. She could see herself making a run. Um, so let me ask you a final wrap up question. What do you think is going to happen for Monica's second chance?
Good. Yeah, I'm glad you didn't do the same question that we used for the paranoia interview. Didn't want to copy our formula completely.
Oh my god!
Uh, here's the thing. Like we must have just like had parallel thinking because
Yeah,
I was like,
it's
maybe we mentioned this. Maybe he mentioned this to me during CT8. I wasn't there during CT8, so we didn't talk too much.
right, right,
So
right.
I don't think it ever you were like, hey, we're doing a second chance to see this. I think we should do a player
Yeah,
profile.
no, it
It's
was
not like
so funny when you guys hit me up to do it. I was like, these motherfuckers. Like,
yeah.
but
See,
anyway,
maybe you told Hammond. I think it's a great idea. I think more people in the community should do this.
I,
I think she's gonna. I really do think she's gonna go out in like that 10th to 6th place range. I hate to say it, but I think she is gonna be viewed as a target. And Monica's interesting because like she's like very smart, very outspoken. For some people, that's like a very like useful ally to have, and other people are really intimidated by that, especially when it's coming from a woman. Like I think there are maybe a few dudes on this cast who are like taken aback by it and are like, oh, man, Monica, she's a badass woman. Fuck her, she needs to go. So I think if she can align with the right people, have a couple meat shields. I mean, I really don't see her struggling to make jury unless activity is an issue.
sure.
It's that final 10 to final 6 is really going to be the crucial, just I guess, time for her where either she can
Yeah.
win this game or she goes out in jury. And just knowing the caliber of players that are going to be on this cast, she's going to have to completely bring it. And so I guess maybe like 8th place. That would be my expert prediction. But she could win. She could
Yeah.
win.
Oh, she has
And
every tool.
and you hate to see like yeah, everyone's like, oh, anyone could win this game. There are people day one you're like they have zero chance of winning this game. She is one of the people who I think if she gets to the end, she has a great shot. I mean, she
Okay.
almost beat CLC, and everyone was fawning over CLC in duplicity, and she still managed to get 4 votes from him. So
Yeah.
she could 100% win. She just needs to give it her all, and she needs to get lucky too. Like there's so much luck involved in BBH,
Mhm.
and last time she got very unlucky. And I
Yep.
think it's very impressive just how far she made it, despite all the shit that she went through.
Yeah.
So
She
I'm
never really
excited.
had she never really had people that like she had to constantly fight for her spot and for her safety. And if she can get in with the right people who can win a few comps in a row to get themselves situated and set up nicely, I think she could do really well. So, also I, I'm excited to see her back because she is just great television. She gives great confessionals. She will read a bitch to filth if they deserve it. Like she will speak her mind on anything, and she's just a lovely person and a joy. So I'm very excited to have Monica back. I know that you'll be rooting for her as well as so many people will be. Thank you so much for spending a bit of time with me to talk about Monica. And for everybody else that's out there watching this, thank you so much for watching. We will be back with another one of these, I'm sure, sometime in the next couple hours. But if not, join the Discord, get your fantasy picks in, do all the things that you got to do in the preseason to get yourself set up to watch and view a wonderful season of Big Brother Hometowns 15. But until then, until the next time you see us,